Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of A Brush with Death. I am your host, Miss Casey Hanalei, and in this series I sit down, I tell you a true crime story, and I paint you a pretty picture at the same time. Now, if that sounds like good old-fashioned fun to you, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so that you will never miss one of my terrible, terrible stories. Now, before we get into the case, I want to introduce you to my very, very special guest, which is my baby kitty, Marnie's portrait. Hi, Marnie. I painted this about 12 years ago when I first got Marnie, but she sadly passed away in July of this year. But now we have Mr. Jasper, and he is walking around here somewhere underneath my feet, causing a ruckus. So if you hear him, say hi. All right, so what case are we getting into today? We are talking about the Sin City Gigolo Murder case, which, if it sounds like a lot, it is a lot. So sit down, relax if you can, and let's get into this case, guys. Let me take you back to July 16th, 2020. Where were you in the height of COVID? I was here, locked away like everyone else in Las Vegas. But that day, about 14 minutes away from where I'm sitting right now, a 911 call was made around 10 a.m. from a gentleman claiming that there was an unresponsive woman in his apartment suffering from cardiac arrest. When first responders get there, they find a very badly beaten woman unconscious and eventually is pronounced dead. Now, who is this man in the apartment? It's none other than Ash Armand, the Showtime star of Gigolos. So what happened in this apartment where a woman is eventually brutally beaten and murdered? Well, let's find out. First, let's talk about our victim in this case. I was not able to find too much about her background, but what I did find was very lovely and very encouraging. She seemed like a very sweet and amazing person. So her name is Harleen Cordulai. She was born April 22nd, 1991, so we are only like a month apart. She was 29 when she passed away. She was said to have a very vibrant personality and a compassionate nature. She was born in Northern California, but later moved to Las Vegas. She graduated from Temple University with a bachelor's degree in biological sciences. So she was also very, very smart. She also was really athletic as well. She had a passion for fitness. She had a very deep love for sports, actively participating in soccer and basketball. Harleen also enjoyed running with her father and found a very supportive community at a local Las Vegas gym, which is Ace Fitness, which is about 4 minutes from me, where she worked as a personal trainer and led a youth group. She was said to have been very passionate about children as well. She really put herself into this youth group and she was just really good with the kids. She also loved animals as well. Harleen had a very special bond with her golden retriever, Rustum, who she considered her best friend, and they shared many cherished memories together. The last thing I'll say about Harleen is they also mentioned in her obituary that her laughter was infectious. Sometimes she would try to tell a joke and she couldn't even get it out, but everyone was already laughing because it was so infectious. Everyone just loved her so much, and she was just one of those people that really drew you in, and you just wanted to be her friend, right? So it always starts out so good, right? But unfortunately it does not end well. Since I didn't have too much about Harleen and her background, I didn't want to give too much of a spotlight to Mr. Ash Armand, but here we go. So he was born Akshaya Kubiak around, it says around 1982. I couldn't find an exact birthday, so he might be lying about his age. Anyways, he was born into a relatively open-minded, supportive family, which good for him about his career choices. He gained a lot of prominence under the name Ash Armand as a cast member of the Showtime reality series Gigolos. Now, this series aired from 2012 to 2016. I want to know if anyone watched this series, because I want to know what it's about. I haven't seen it. I think I've seen like clips of it like on the Soup or something, but anyways. So the show follows the lives of male escorts around Las Vegas, and it definitely boosted Armand's career, especially locally here. So all of these male escorts were under the escort agency Cowboys for Angels, which catered to wealthy female clients. A lot of the filming was around, the high-end hotels, the luxury homes, and Vegas nightlife spots, which are endless here in Vegas. After the show, stopped showing, right? He didn't have too many more TV appearances. He was featured on the series Slut Ever in 2018. And then also featured in Langdon Nation in 2015. He did most of his work in modeling and also was very passionate about fitness training. So that's where most of his income came from after the show dropped. He also was involved with, he was like publicly involved with a few women. So he reportedly dated Tucci Cash, before becoming romantically involved with her friend, Tia Evan. Now, when the COVID-19 pandemic hit in 2020, Tia moved into Ash's home, but only after a few months she reportedly moved out after their relationship showed signs of cracks. Which, during the pandemic, whose relationship wasn't suffering, right? You're cooped up with this one and only person. I'm sure a lot of you survived, but it was, it was difficult on almost everyone. So after Armand and Tia break up, this is when Harleen and Armand meet in around May to June of 2020. Now, the way they meet is a little unclear. Also, the exact nature of their relationship is also unclear. Some sources say that she was a client of Armand. Some say that they had some kind of professional connection, maybe in the fitness world, or maybe they had some kind of personal involvement where they were dating, or I don't know, they were just friends. Who knows? So we have really no idea what they were to each other. And then we get to July 15th, 2020. This is when Harleen goes over to Armand's place in Las Vegas. And, maybe they're having a little party, right? And this is where we get into some drug use. So if you don't want to hear that right now, go ahead and skip out on this one. I understand. So this is where Armand and Harleen allegedly consume psychedelic mushrooms together. Now, I don't know if you know anything about mushrooms. I don't. But what I've seen, on TV shows and stuff, is that stuff can mess you up. So if one or both of them were on mushrooms, I can definitely see where something could go awry. Now we are back at the beginning of our story. July 16th, 2020, around 10 a.m., a 911 call is made. Armand reports that there is a female in his apartment under cardiac arrest. First responders arrive and they note that the victim has matted hair and there's blood surrounding her head and her face is black and blue and very swollen. They pronounce Harleen dead at the scene. R.I.P. to Harleen. Armand told the paramedics that Harleen attacked him and then he attacked her. He later told the fire captain that he did this and said that he would surrender to the police when they arrived. During the investigation, the Las Vegas Metro Police Department detectives observed blood inside the washing machine, a packed suitcase covered in candle wax on the victim's hair and body, and 2 candle jars adjacent to the victim that had apparent blood on them. What happened in this apartment? Detectives also found watered down or diluted blood on the bathroom counter, which indicated an attempt to clean up the crime scene, and the psychedelic, better known as mushrooms, was in the refrigerator. Detectives observed 1 small laceration on Armand's finger, but there was no other visible injuries. It just makes you wonder what happened here. Were they having a good time, enjoying each other's company? They decided to take some mushrooms and then they just had the worst trip you could ever have. Yeah, what happened? So a little disclaimer warning, I do want to get into Harlene's extensive injuries because I think that she deserves to have people know what was done to her and how bad this was. So if you don't want to hear that right now, skip ahead a few minutes or I'll just see you in the next one. That's fine. So the victim's autopsy identified a waxy substance throughout her hair, evidence of blunt force trauma to her head and neck, an abrasion on her ear with a burn-like quality, and contusions and lacerations on her face and neck. The pathologist also noted that the victim had extensive injuries to her mouth. Ugh, mouth stuff just freaks me out. Including broken teeth, and some of the missing teeth were even found in her stomach. Oh my God. Pathologists also identified evidence of strangulation hemorrhages within the neck muscles and a broken hyoid bone. Now, for you true crime junkies out there, you know that when someone is strangled, you don't always have to crush the hyoid bone, but when it is broken, that is like a sure tell sign that they were strangled. A toxicology report was done. She had 0.038 alcohol level, so nothing at all. And but there was MDMA in her system, also known as ecstasy. And also there were signs of the mushrooms in her system as well. The autopsy concluded that the victim's cause of death was blunt force trauma with strangulation as a contributing factor. The Clark County Coroner's Office rules that her death was a homicide due to blunt force trauma and strangulation. After they ruled that, Armand was quickly arrested and charged with murder, rightfully so. Her injuries, the extent of her injuries, it seemed like their night was going good at first, and then it just went horribly, horribly wrong. Now, we don't know if there was an argument. We don't know. We'll get into what he says happened, but let's get into that and then we'll speculate later. So Armand told investigators from the beginning that he took the psychedelic drugs or the mushrooms and he blacked out and didn't remember anything of the attack, which I don't know if I believe. Now, like I said before, psychedelics, I've never tried them before. I don't know if anyone has out there, let me know what they're like. But from what I understand, you could have a good trip, you could have a very bad trip, and you are just kind of out of your mind when you are on those things. So you have to be very careful about what you put around you, the headspace that you're in at the time. So, and there was that comment when first responders did get there that he said that she attacked me, so I attacked her. So Is he just using the blackout excuse that we see all the time as just a scapegoat, or does he really know what happened and he's just using that as an excuse? I don't know. It's a hard one to say, especially since there was a lot of drugs involved, right? So what do you guys think? Do you think that he's telling the truth? Do you think that he knows more? I just don't know with this one. Something that points to he is telling the truth, at least to me, is the severity of the injuries. Unless he has like a history of violence, which I really couldn't find. You know, he's under the influence of these really heavy drugs, and she is too, right? She had it in her system as well. You know, if you are having a bad trip and you're threatened, or, you know, something is coming at you, you know, maybe you're protecting yourself. Maybe he didn't know that it was her and he was just trying to protect himself. And then eventually when he came to at 10 o'clock in the morning, he realized what he had done and he made the 911 call. I don't know, especially since there was like teeth found in her stomach. Like, that is a brutal, brutal beating. Something that says to me, I am fighting for my life. That's what I think. Unless he really was a piece of crap and hated women and wanted to kill her. I don't know, but it just doesn't sit right with me. I don't know. What do you guys think? Armand was initially charged with the murder of Harleen, but he later accepted a plea deal in September of 2021. Under the agreement, he pleaded guilty to voluntary manslaughter and mayhem, which, if you didn't know what mayhem was, well, lucky you, I looked it up. So if you are convicted of mayhem, it means that the perpetrator intentionally inflicts severe injury on another, causing permanent disfigurement, disability, or loss of body part. So he was convicted of manslaughter, voluntary manslaughter, and mayhem, which are both felony charges, in December 2021. He was sentenced to 8 to 20 years in prison, which is nothing at all, guys. Absolutely nothing. The plea deal allowed him to avoid trial and potential life sentence with second-degree murder. So this means, guys, if he gets 8 to 20 years with good behavior, the earliest possible release is 2029, which is just a few years away. And then his latest possible release is in 2041, if he serves his full 20 years, which... Do you think justice was served in this, guys? I don't know. If he really is telling the truth and it was just an unfortunate, really bad trip, then I don't know. I don't know. But I think he knows more than he is saying, and he's going to try to get parole, so he is probably going to keep his mouth shut, right? So we're probably never going to know what really happened, and he's never going to spill what he knows, which... So I wanted to give you guys a little lesson in the degree murder charges, because I didn't know, when I first started in true crime, I didn't necessarily know the differences between first degree, second degree, all that kind of stuff. So I thought it would be helpful if we went through it really quick. So if you are convicted of first degree murder, it means that you had the intent to kill and there was premeditation. So for example, if you stalk, buy a weapon, and attack to kill, that means that you committed first degree murder. Now, if someone commits second degree murder, what does that mean? It means that they had intent to kill, but there was no premeditation. So, for example, in a heated argument, you grab a weapon and you kill without prior intent. You would have caused second degree murder. So, voluntary manslaughter, this is where it gets a little hairy. Voluntary manslaughter. So you had intent to kill, but there was no premeditation. However, you were provoked. So if you walk in on your, significant other cheating and in a blind rage you kill that person, that means that you committed voluntary manslaughter. Now, involuntary manslaughter means that there was no intent to kill and no premeditation. This one is easy. This is, like if a drunk driver is driving and, accidentally kills someone in the process, that is involuntary manslaughter. So those are the 4 degrees of murder for your education and enjoyment. So I didn't find too much about the reaction to Harlene's death in regards to her family and friends, but what I did find was really beautiful. So following her tragic murder, her family members, her mother, father, sister, and brother, all delivered very emotionally charged victim impact statements, expressing profound grief and the devastating impact of her loss. Her brother, in particular, who is a doctor, conveyed his shock at the brutality of her injuries, stating, "She wasn't simply taken from us, she was brutally beaten to death," which, I hope they're doing okay. Additionally, the family published a very beautiful online obituary highlighting Harlene's vibrant personality, her love for sports, animals, and children, and her ability to touch everyone around her. While the family chose not to participate in media interviews, which good for them, their courtroom statements and their obituary provide a lot of really good insight into, their profound grief and just how much they loved Harlene and cherished memories of her. Grief pops up at the most inconvenient times, and it never gets easier, it just gets less frequent, if you've ever experienced grief before. So I hope that her family is doing okay. I hope that they're, going through the grief process and, trying to get through it. So shout out to them. I hope they're doing okay. So, I'd like to end on a quote from Harlene. So this was gathered a little non-traditionally. I found this really cool picture of Harlene and of her bathroom mirror. She had written all of these inspirational quotes on her mirror, which I thought was really cool. I actually used to do that, but I need to do it again. It's really helpful. So one thing that she wrote that I loved was, "You are the only person that you need on your team," which, heck yeah, girl. Don't wait around for someone else to push you into your dream. You are the only person that you need to accomplish what you want to accomplish in this life. So I hope that Harlene's words inspire you to get out there and accomplish those things, as long as you're not hurting anyone, remember. But you truly are the only person that you need on your team. So go get them, guys. All right, so without further ado, here's the finished piece. Oh my god! So cute. Look at him running. All right, so if you missed it, she loved her golden retriever, Rustum, and he unfortunately passed away a little before she actually was murdered. So I hope that you love this piece, Harlene, and that you and Rustum are reunited. He was waiting on the Rainbow Road for you too. And you're just at peace and in a better place, looking down on us. Oh, I love it. He looks so happy. Alright guys, well, I hope that you enjoyed that video as much as I enjoy putting them together. And, I hope that you guys stay safe out there. You be kind to one another. Don't hurt anyone. And I hope that you accomplish everything you want in this life. And, you are the only one that you need on your team, right? So, alright guys, don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you in the next episode of A Brush with Duff. Bye guys! become you.